Hey, welcome to the Camden Otis Show. In this episode, Camden and I, without a guest, sans guest, just because of some scheduling conflicts, we recorded this during the Thanksgiving holiday week. We dove into Thanksgiving, what to be thankful for, why gratitude is so important, and how to use gratitude to build your team, to create that cohesion within your team so that your team can have that flow in its operation. And when your team has flow in its operation, guess what you have as the business owner and business leader? More success, more profit. Yeah, it seems a little selfish at first, but you know, don't you want to live life with more success and more fulfillment? And success in your business is part of that. And I'd just also like to say this episode is brought to you by Tribe and Purpose. As the turmoil of the last few years left your team feeling stressed and fatigued, you're not alone. 45% of employees are feeling that same fatigue. And that fatigue can leave even great teams in disarray and hurt productivity. All that change and confusion makes it hard for team members to see their future with the company. And the biggest drivers of talent retention are compelling career path and a happy team environment. Things are becoming rarer and rarer in business and around the country. The biggest priority for businesses in 2023 is fixing these and other problems that can create dysfunctional teams. So get a head start on the competition with Team Unity. Team Unity by Power Tribe will make sure that you keep that top talent around. During this 12-week program, you'll create a plan that your whole team buys into and sees their individual future in. Root out any dysfunction in your team and create flow so that you can attract and retain the top talent in your business. And we'll help you build a customer-focused approach that reverses your shrinking sales. You can learn more about Team Unity by Power Tribe at findyourpurpose.coach. Now, here's Cam and Otis with the show. Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. You know, it's that time of year. Happy Thanksgiving. And based on the release of this show, you should be probably feeling like, dang, I shouldn't have eaten so much
Yeah.
right about now because it's Friday morning. And maybe you're getting your PT in, like my buddy Mark Flicker, who looks at Black Friday like an execution checklist, like we used to go hit bad guys on ops. So maybe that's how you're getting your exercise in to make up for all the eating and drinking you did yesterday. But I just want to say something about Thanksgiving as a whole. It says something about our culture when we have a holiday that is built around being gluttonous.
Yeah. Sure does.
There's it's supposedly built around giving thanks and being thankful for where we are, and we're going to touch on that in a moment. But what it really is, centers all around, is eating. I mean, heck, eating and sitting and watching football now. It's all about that. And I think if we're smart, if we look for it, there is more to it. And that more to it, whether we talk about it or not, I think it's still there. And that's, who are you eating with? Right? And Miss Suzanne always talks about, when she talks about her fondest memory of Thanksgiving, she talks about the time that myself and the rest of ODA 063 were deployed. and it was her and the other wives and everybody's kids all got together for Thanksgiving. And I think Camden, you were there. I don't know. If you were there, you were pretty young. I don't remember.
I sure don't remember it. Yeah.
I think it was shortly after you were. Wait, yeah, you weren't one yet. So, because that should have been like 96 or 97. So you were pretty young. And if you think about it, though, the reason that Thanksgiving was so special, and actually you were there for the other one in Germany. Do you remember the one we had in Germany? We went to the Frasdorf house.
I vaguely remember it.
Yeah,
I feel like I remember being an awkward child and confused about people I was around.
Yeah, because you didn't know any of them.
Of course.
That was another one. That was another memorable Thanksgiving. That it wasn't just the inner family. It was the larger family. I mean, we could even say in both cases it was our tribe. It truly was our tribe in both those cases. And when you think about that, and you think of that, the feast, in that sense, to kind of put a little Vikingism on this, when we talk about Valhalla and those sort of things. But when you think about breaking bread and being thankful with people around you that you truly care about, that you enjoy spending time with, whether they're blood relatives or somebody that is just close to you, don't y'all do a Friendsgiving? Where did Friendsgiving come from? Same thing, right? It was the same thing. You're just playing, playing on the words because you're not doing it on the Thursday.
Right.
But
no, exactly. And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think Friendsgiving, I was going to bring that up also because it's such an interesting thing because for everyone I know, and I don't know the history of Friendsgiving, to be fair. It might go back a ways, but for most people I know, it starts off in college.
1873 was the first Friendsgiving. Okay. You heard it here first, folks. Trivia night.
Oh, that's great. But the origin of Friendsgiving, besides 1873, in the modern era, I guess, for most people I know, it just goes back to you couldn't go home with your family for Thanksgiving. And so you wind up spending it with a few people. And it's developed past that. And, we did one last year. Ours is going to be on December 9th this year because we couldn't link up the calendars and those type of things. But the reason we picked that day is because it's when everyone could come. And every year there's this really sweet moment of just like, this is the family you choose. And that's a really, really amazing thing there because it is these people who are, they're our tribe, they're our family. And you get to spend that time together and celebrate and give thanks together. And I think it's such an amazing thing. But then the thing I want to add is applying that mindset to the family you don't get to choose. Because too often, I think around this time of year, our friend Charlie Green with Fermento, he posted about, ways to basically keep politics out of the dinner table, right? And other questions that you can ask and all those type of things. That's always the conversation around Thanksgiving. It's not the conversation around Friendsgiving. And I think it's because we get in this mindset of it's like we're going to these people and, it's almost like you're being dragged to it. Like, me being dragged to the dinner where I didn't know anybody, when we were in Germany. And I think that is just a choice of mindset that too many people get trapped into. It's almost become culturally acceptable that it's going to be a somewhat negative experience. The joke of the drunk uncle talking about Trump or whatever it is. Like, that's all what we picture for Thanksgiving, rather than focusing on the positive aspects. I could list out all the friends that came to Friendsgiving last year, and we could have had some heated political debates if we did, but we chose not to because we wanted to focus on the thanks and the people there and each other. And I think you can apply that to your family as well. And it's just this weird thing where people just choose not to a lot of the time instead of focusing on the positives. Whenever I get around the holiday season, this is a little sad, so sorry, but I always think of, I heard this once of, it's like, how often do you see your parents? And it's like, okay, I see my parents, 2 times a year. Okay, how old are your parents? Oh, they're 60. Okay, well, if your parents are 60,
No, your parents are much
I
younger than 60.
I'm doing easy math, Dad. Calm
Okay,
down.
all right.
So what's that? If they're gonna live to be 100, that's great. A lot of people don't make it that far. Okay, that's 40 years, 2 times a year. That's 80 experiences. That's it. And when you start to think about it like that, not only do you get the gratitude of being able to spend that time with them, but then also when you switch your mindset on that, you can look for the positives rather than seeing the negatives. Because it's all a choice, right? Whether you want to see the positive or the negative. And it doesn't really matter who you're eating with. It's what you choose to get out of that. Whether it's your family or your friends, it's all that mindset of giving thanks and spending that time together. Because breaking bread is an important thing. I mean, it's one of the biggest things inside of our I don't know, I was gonna say genetics, but it goes back to being the caveman brain, right?
No.
Probably goes back to monkey brain and lizard brain too. But it's the act
because if
of
you're
just sitting and
sharing,
eating.
you're sharing what you have, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the fundamental thing that pulls us around the feast, because we're sharing what we have with others. And in that moment, even if you think about it in the sense of the literal passing of the plate, the cranberry sauce, the stuffing, the literally passing the plate, I'm sharing that with you, to the person sitting next to me. And as it goes around the table, you're sharing it with everybody around the table. Mm-hmm. That's that giving. That's the thankfulness, the sharing. Because whether you made the stuffing or not, you know what? You could be that asshole and put it down in front of your plate, and not even the bring up some argumentative political thing, which,
right.
Well, by the way, used to never happen.
Wait, okay, I gotta stop you. Is that sarcastic? Because usually when we talk about the division or whatever, usually the conversation we get from the older generations is, it's been this way. There's always been back and forth and whatnot. Was dinner at Thanksgiving non-political?
The rule that I always heard and I grew up around is you don't talk about religion or politics. You never bring
Wonder
up
when we lost
religion
that.
or politics. Huh?
I said wonder when we lost that, because seems to be a commonplace.
If you get into it, it's a bit of, I want to change your opinion and tell you how wrong you are. Mm-hmm. In that one space of your life. But if you take those elements out of your life, out of the conversation, you'll be amazed, and this goes for anything, whether you're sitting around the table or not. If you remove the counter arguments where you conflict, mm-hmm. and look at all the areas where you're in common, man, there's so much more going on there. And then it's very easy to pick up that plate of stuffing after I gave myself a really good helping and share it. Or here's another thing. I'm not going to take all of it, because I can look around and I see there's 5 more people this plate has to go by.
Yeah.
So how much stuffing am I going to take? You ever notice nobody takes the last piece? You know why nobody takes the last piece?
Why is that?
Because they don't want to be the asshole that was being greedy, because somebody else might want that. That is giving. That's sharing, again, in the sense. 100%. So we're sharing the feast in multiple ways with our tribe. Think about that. Mm-hmm. Even think back to sitting around the campfire and cooking around the campfire and passing the food around the campfire. Or, in the Middle East, I call them goat grabs. But, in the Middle East, where we sit around on our knees and there's a plate with a lamb or a goat that's been cooked, and we're all sitting around that big giant plate with rice and the goat, and we're reaching in and just grabbing the meat and the rice and eating it like that. That's that sharing, that communal feast that Thanksgiving gives you. And, make sure you have some napkins there, folks, if you're going to do that with your turkey and stuffing. But you know what? It's a perfectly acceptable thing. In the Middle East, do it all the time. Man, that's part of their culture.
This episode is brought to you by Tribe and Purpose. Our new program, Team Unity by Power Tribe, gives you all the tools that you need to get rid of the dysfunction in your team. You'll have a plan that your team buys into, you'll create more flow in your team to retain your top talent, and you'll reverse your shrinking sales by focusing on your customers. Learn more today at findyourpurpose.coach. Now let's get back to the show. And I think the interesting thing, you talk about the sharing and the cooking, I think is one of the things I always think about, of just the giving of that, like how much work goes into it. For even like a Friendsgiving where it's like I'll do a turkey, everyone brings sides, and we'll do it like that. That's still a lot of work, even if you're not doing the whole thing. Let alone if it's mom or grandma putting together the entire meal. And I think that too often we look at those things again, kind of almost like the chore. It's like they have to do rather than they get to do. I've thought about this a bunch. Usually, whenever I'm waking up at 3 a.m. to go smoke a brisket or a pork butt or something, of it's like, why the heck would you get up at 3 a.m. to go cook a piece of meat? And it's because you care about the people you're around, right? Same thing goes for the turkey and everything else.
Yeah, you do care about them, and you have to have and that
again, kind of going back
on.
To the sharing aspect. It's all about having that mentality. We already spoke of, you get the choice of the positive or the negative. If you go in with the mentality of giving and sharing and have that positive outlook, then you're going to get the positive outlook from the rest of the people. And then even if the drunk uncle starts ranting about whatever, you could still nip it in the butt and just keep going on with other stuff. Because to your point, you talked about how much more we have in common, right? When it comes to the differences and those type of things. That's true. But I would add on to that it's really more like we talk about sharing. We don't get to see these people all the time. Like the parents example, you get people two times a year. You get to have everyone there and have these conversations. That's your family. That's your family history. That's where you get to check in on each other's lives and all these different things. You talk about sharing. You're getting to share that that insight into your life, into each other's lives, and then you'll go away and you'll see each other, months and months later, a year later maybe. And that, when you think about it that way, it's like it's really hard to bring the negative aspects into it, because why waste such little time with negativity rather than being positive.
Yeah, that's so true. Anytime that you allow the negative aspect, and we all know what it is, even if you keep continuing to use your drunk uncle analogy. Well, the
it's always drunk uncle. I don't know why.
Nobody wants to deal with the drunk aunt. I can tell you that. But when if you add on to it, if you buy into it, aren't you doing just as much damage? Aren't you just as evil as the one who's done the evil when you do evil back, when you do the revenge back? Now, in that aspect of it. So I think you've hit something really important, and that's what's the memory do you have? What memory do you want to have of the moment? Do you want to have the memory of, well, I showed them a thing or two. I stood up and told them my political beliefs, and boy, I made a statement.
You should have seen how angry they were. I really got it.
That's pretty narcissistic and selfish. As opposed to, man, we were all together. This doesn't happen very often. Probably only a handful of them will happen again in the future, sort of thing. Just based on whether it's somebody moving away or whatever it is, and enjoying that moment and being thankful. Going back to Thanksgiving, being thankful for those moments and enjoying the moment, as opposed to using it as a lecture, or even, we keep talking political, even in the sense of, hey, let me tell you about this new business idea to the rich uncle, right? Let me, because we're doing this, and this, and I could really get you in on a good deal right now. Well, how the Cowboys doing? How's that stuffing? Hey, Uncle Kerry, Did you put Tabasco sauce in the turkey again? Because it sure tastes good this year. You know, I mean, it's that sort of thing
Oh,
to be thinking about instead of the negatives. And if we truly enjoy the moments that we have, the enjoyment that we have is compounded even more. Because if you're happy, and this is one of the things that I do with my teams, my tribes, you know, when we celebrate success, we always celebrate successes. Uh, and man, it feels so good to share with the tribe the successes, the happiness, right? It compounds amongst us as opposed to, you know, the woe is me, you know, my life sucks, I can't believe this or that happened or these beliefs or that, you know, well, how about how about dark meat or white meat there, you know?
and, and I love that so much, bringing the food aspect into it, because we talked about the choice, negativity or positivity. You have the choice. There's all sorts of positive things. You can talk about your family and, you know, stories and exchanging those stories. That's really what I think of a lot with Thanksgiving, is like the exchange of stories. The little tangent on that, my wife and I, we watched Coco, of course, for Day of the Dead, and what we were talking about a bunch with that is like the telling of the stories of the family members and how important that is. And Thanksgiving is where you get a lot of that. You get to share those stories. That's an amazing thing, to be able to take those stories and to be able to let
Mm,
people live on through you, right? But then I think you bring up a really great point, which is, at the very least, there's so much else. There's so much else right there that you could be talking about and be positive about and be thankful for in these type of things. And the choice of, the more we talk about that choice of positive or negative, I can't, it's not even a choice, because there's nothing on that negative side that gives you any benefit. It's all on the positive side. And that choice to be positive, it spreads out with everyone else, and you're going to get more stories, and you're going to have more fun, and you can go through all these different things, and then you're creating the memories, like you talking about some of your favorite Thanksgiving memories. That's amazing. That's that's awesome to hear. And those things happen because people come together
mm.
with a positive mindset. It's like, you know, I keep going back to, it's like the Friendsgiving could be just as negative. You know, if you know, our producer, we always poke fun at Norman sometimes. Norman comes in, and he and I start complaining about the Cowboys, because Pablo would be there. You know Pablo, and you know, we're all gonna start complaining about, oh gosh, the Cowboys, because you know, whatever's going on, that could
Mhm.
be negative too. But you make that choice to leave those things out, and that choice is very, very easy when you recognize that
Oh
you
yeah,
have that
yeah.
choice, right?
As long as you make the choice to be happy, you can always be happy. It's a simple thing, simple to say. It's not always easy to do, but the truth is, nothing can piss you off unless you allow it to piss you off. Nothing can make you happy unless you allow it to make you happy. And I thought of another great example, another thing not to talk about at Thanksgiving. Can I talk to you about renewing your car repair maintenance plan? You know, right? You know, hey, no need to bring
Oh
up
yeah.
that. So, uh, but yeah, go ahead.
And yeah. Oh no, just saying, you know, it's the more we talk about it, there's so many things that are all about life the rest of the year. And there's 3 hours where you just leave that shit out. It's not that hard. And you can just focus on the positive. And then the amazing thing, you know, the interesting thing when you talk about all sorts of different, like, I don't know if you didn't necessarily say like immersion therapies, but things like, you know, you go unplug in the mountains for 2 weeks, you're hunting, right? And you don't have your phone or anything. Or you go out and, you know, you spend time with this charity or doing like mission work or something for this extended period of time. All of those things can be eye opening experiences during that chunk of time. The question is then, what are you going to do with that moving forward, right? Thanksgiving can
Mm,
be that positive chunk of time. and then you can take that positivity and continue to move forward with it, and to take those stories and continue to tell those stories and share those stories and to share that love with other people, rather than taking that 3 hours and then dropping it back off. Right? It's a mindset, and it's one of those things where it's like you can always find a reason to be happy, but yet we wait. Or sorry, that not the sentence I thought I was starting. You're thinking of New Year's, and we always talk about New Year's resolutions and how it's just an arbitrary date that you can always make those resolutions. You can always be happy and be thankful too. It's about whether or not you want to make that mindset. And if you can bring in that positive mindset, then you can spread that out. And you kind of already alluded to this, but it's that choice of, do you want to spread the positivity or do you want to spread the negativity? And when you look at it like that, it's pretty darn simple.
And just as one more reminder, folks, like energy attracts. So if you got somebody that's all negative Nancy at the table, watch out, because you'll be pulled right down there with them. But you know what? If you put a smile on your face, pretty hard to be pissed off. Even if you're just gritting your teeth and smiling, it's pretty hard to be pissed off. So, Camden, what'd you learn?
Eventually. I learned that the best Thanksgiving in my mom's life is when you were deployed, which, there's a little bit of insight there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
If you recall all of Miss Suzanne's stories, generally start with, and Otis was gone. That's no. Think about every. Yes,
that's when things get really interesting. How about you?
Well, I learned that the Friendsgiving has become such an important part of your group, your age group, if you will, that I think it's almost requiring its own holiday, but a floating holiday. Maybe
Really?
in our in your job negotiations, folks, you should negotiate a floating Friendsgiving Day in your PTO program.
Oh, yeah.
So just think about that.
And I want to add just and encourage, because it's really popular with my group. And I mean, I got freaking couple tears in the Friendsgiving last year about that. Hey, this is the family we choose and that type of a thing. Because some people don't get the family Thanksgiving, right? And so it is a really big thing. But then even if you do have the actual Thanksgiving and you have the big family and you can have all of that, I would encourage people to still do the Friendsgiving, because it's still an awesome thing. Because you get to do it twice. You get 2 days of turkey, awesome, and you get to share stories and spend time together. That's an amazing thing. And so even for the people in your generation who, I mean, well, if it originated in 1873, I don't know why you guys don't have Friendsgiving. But
During the war,
I think
during
if
the
you
war,
haven't done it,
there was a shortage of turkeys, and
we were all out of stuffing.
you had to donate
just couldn't
stuffing
do
to
it.
the soldiers.
But no,
in
I
the
would,
war.
But no, I would encourage people, if you haven't had a Friendsgiving with some folks, I'd really encourage you, because it's a good time and it's a great way to connect with people and show them how much they mean to you. Whether it's spending time listening to their stories or waking up at 3 a.m. to smoke a turkey, whatever it is, they will appreciate it, and they will show their gratitude too.
And one last plug for our buddies at Ranch Sense, headquartered down in San Antonio, Texas. If you own some property and you don't feel like driving around all day, every day, and checking all your gates and all your stock tanks, get on ranchsense.com, check them out. Give Jimmy a call. Jimmy will hook you up with some kit that he's got that saves you time. And you know what? Make sure your cattle are on the right pasture, and when they're on the right pasture, make sure they got water. Sounds really simple, folks, but I don't know about you, but that 3 hour drive across the pasture to check on that gate, to check on my stock tank, that's a long day. So check out Ranch Sense. That's ranchsense.com. And yes, I'm wearing the hat. So Camden, run us out.
All right, thank y'all so much for listening to today's episode of the Cam and Otis Show. You can check out a full archive of our episodes at camandotishow.com, and you can also watch our videos and the full videos available on our YouTube page. Just look up the Cam and Otis Show in that search bar on YouTube. Cam and Otis Show in that search bar on YouTube. And if while you're there, you might as well subscribe. And thank y'all so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.